Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today and for your time over the next hour. Welcome to the Great Breakaway webinar, Escaping the Sea of Same, hosted by Titan One and our great partners at HubSpot. We have an amazing lineup of content and thought leadership for you today. And again, absolutely thrilled you could join us. My name is Laura Davis Seville. I will be your host today, but I am also the head of strategy here at Titan One. I oversee both our brand strategy and our go-to-market strategy practices, and work closely in all content and creative development with the teams over at Titan. So excited with everything we've compiled today. We have some great speakers and panelists who I will introduce shortly. But before we get there, just a little bit about who you're going to hear from today on the Titan One side. We are a full service communications and branding agency with over 30 years of experience. Huge experience in telecommunications, data, cloud, cybersecurity, enterprise, really focused in these areas and helping B2B brands of this nature across the board with all kinds of services. And whether that's helping out sort of more of a legacy Titans such as Zayo, or helping more new entrants, disruptors in more regional spaces, such as Axel, Hebrew Networks on the Canada side, working with a wide range of clients in hopes of developing their brand, helping them with go-to-market and lead generation, and overall just strengthening their brand and presence in market. And one of the most common questions we get across the board, no matter the client, no matter the size, no matter the budget, everyone is looking for that silver bullet to really, get in front of the right audiences, build their brand, drive that lead generation. And something that we're seeing over and over, especially in really proliferated, high intensity, very saturated markets such as data, cloud, AI, and cybersecurity, is that there simply is no silver bullet. We're going to call it a suite of silver bullets that you can employ and that we do help our clients employ every day. But the hard truth really being this is it's no longer a if you build it, they will come type of scenario, type of market. We really, really need to focus on breakthrough, and breakthrough truly is a commitment, both on the brand side, but especially on the go-to-market side, employing the right suite of tools, the right strategies to really make sure that you are turning heads. If you are not breaking through, if you're not showing up in those moments that really matter for your consumers, if prospects aren't talking about you when they're turning to their colleagues, when they're making major decisions, the truth is they're never going to buy from you. These pieces of breakthrough are absolutely critical. It might seem fairly basic, it might seem very just rooted in basic psychology, but it is incredibly true, and we're seeing it over and over again in the necessary means to get to that breakthrough for any type of industry if you are going to reach your consumers effectively. And in a time where differentiation and breaking through in truly different ways is more critical than ever before, we are seeing so many brands and clients sort of falling into what we're calling the sameness spiral. Really, resting back on tried and true rinse and repeat tactics and GTM repetition that might not be garnering the type of results that they're really looking for. Stuff that worked even 2, 3, 5 years ago that is just dramatically changing based on consumer behavior, where people are seeking information, the type of barriers they're up against, the type of market fatigue that they're experiencing due to how many brands are now vying for their attention every day. It's very easy to get caught in this spiral and sort of fall deeper and deeper into the pits of low engagement, which is really what we want to avoid when we're working with any of our clients. We know there are some other, challenges sort of leaning into what's causing this vicious cycle. Lack of brand level investment we're seeing is obviously, a bit of a challenge and higher than ever before. People really playing in the same type of messaging spheres, same types of value propositions, sort of falling into this sea of sameness from a messaging standpoint. We're seeing AI and algorithm confusion when it comes to search and different modes of finding these brands, and also pipeline and market fatigue. As I mentioned before, we are facing a reality where, because of the proliferation, not just of brands, but of channels and ways to get in front of these people, that there is a wear out. There is a fatigue happening in terms of how people are receiving information from incredible brands every day, despite their best efforts. We know also that there are some very real challenges, leading to the spiral. We know this is not what anyone wants, nor is it anybody's fault. There are some, really real challenges that the market is facing across the board. We're seeing it every day, in data and cloud, the growing market, the proliferation of new brands, new challenger brands, but shrinking go-to-market spend. We are seeing year over year a decline in sort of the revenue that's allocated towards go-to-market in a time where we need to be reaching customers in ways that we've never done before. Obviously, CMOs are saying the fight for relevance has never been harder. The fight for dollars towards marketing has never been harder. So these are very real operational challenges that we know our clients are facing. On the AI and SaaS side, really as the world explodes into this conversation of AI, we're really experiencing kind of a hype versus trust type of tension. Everyone wants to adopt AI, everyone wants to employ AI, but how they do it, what it means, the value it's going to provide, that's still a journey. That's still something that's very much top of mind for marketers as they know they should be doing this, but how to do it and how to do it properly. So we know that that's a key barrier as well. And on the cybersecurity side, buyer fatigue, tool sprawl. We are seeing a lot of vendor consolidation on this side as well. We know that multiple partners can lead to inefficiencies, but how can we make sure that you're, working with the right set of tools, set of leadership, set of thought leadership that you need to truly succeed? So overall, we understand the pressure is on. Everyone wants to do better. Everybody wants to cut through the clutter and really drive those leads, and make a difference in terms of what we're providing for each of our clients and for your companies. But, the ability to do less, or sorry, to do more with less is very, very real right now. We understand that pressure entirely. You're dealing with shrinking teams, shrinking revenues, all of these pieces that make being effective in an efficient way really, really difficult and challenging. And we're hoping that today and what we're able to provide and what we're able to provide long term for some of our clients can really help in this. The need to build stronger pipelines. Again, that adoption of AI, not just a shiny bauble, but what does it mean and how can it really drive your business forward? Feeling the pressure of fueling more growth with less, like we talked about before. Fragmented data sources, really looking at those silos of data across the board that are coming from different areas of the organization. What does it mean? How do we bring it together into something that's actually actionable and really truly matters? Decline of traditional inbound, a real reality as we're looking at our go-to-market strategies, especially even just this year moving into 2025. Blogs, ebooks, thought leadership pieces, even the best possibly crafted pieces are struggling in this proliferation of brands putting this type of content in front of consumers. What can we do to really break through and make a difference? And looking at too how AI is playing a role in search when people are disrupting the way that we're buying in more of a traditional manner. So today we're going to talk about a lot of solutions in the face of these challenges, a lot of points of view, a lot of what HubSpot as a partner of ours can bring to the table, in addition to what Titan is able to offer as well, because we do really see a way to break free. These are intense challenges, but they're also very big opportunities. So what are those more holistic and insight-driven go-to-market approaches that we're starting to employ, that we'd love you to start thinking about when launched on the absolute right platforms? So to speak further to a lot of what we've just set up, again, we have three great thought leaders today to take you through some content. First up will be Nick Bond, an incredible veteran in research and insights. We're also super lucky to have him as our chief advisor on the Titan Insights research and insights arm here at Titan. Rachel Webb, a senior product manager at HubSpot, will take you through, again, more of that functionality, more of how HubSpot can help. And Nikhil Puri, our digital strategy manager here at Titan One, king of MarTech, really our HubSpot expert on the Titan side as well, to dig a little deeper into purchase intent, and what's possible on the buyer intent side. So with that, I will hand it over to Nick, who will take us through all the good things that we're doing on the Titan Insight side and really look at that go-to-market challenge that we know everyone is facing today. Nick?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. Yeah, so my role today is Laura has done an excellent job just now of painting the picture about the struggles, some of the spirals that we're seeing, the sameness and the reasons for it. What I want to do is showcase a little bit, why are we seeing it that way from the prospect's perspective, from the customer's perspective. What is going on that we need to better understand that's helping to identify why we're seeing some of the issues we're facing in terms of the long lead cycles and so on. So, let's just dive right into it. And certainly at the end of my section, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. So if you have any questions or ideas, pop them in there and we will address that as time allows. I think Laura said it all best, but the prospecting side of the equation here for you in the data cloud, AI, cybersecurity, this is largely true of B2B in general as well, is that it's hard. It's the hardest part of the job. And in fact, this was the highest on this study that was done, that the prospecting part was hard. And when you look at things like sales cycles, there are many, many data points. We have one here demonstrating it as well, that the sales cycles are just getting a lot longer now. This was 2024. Everything we're seeing is that it's even worse in 25, and it's only going to get worse in 26 if things stay the same. So how do we go about changing that? How do we break through a little bit and start to buck the trends that are making prospecting so difficult? The way that we take it, and when we think about Titan Insights and how we approach these, is, well, we can't really fix it if we don't have a proper understanding of who's across the table from us, the virtual table, as it were, or who's on the other side of the who's receiving it in their inbox. And so that's our first step. Let's really go ahead and understand that person. So right now we have Evelyn, Director of Enterprise Data and Cloud Strategy, telling us what her world looks like and why it's maybe so hard to get in touch with her.
Every vendor tells me they'll unlock insights, break down data silos, or accelerate innovation. I've heard the same pitch 1,000 times. What I don't hear is how it makes a dent in the real constraints of my day. Endless governance reviews, legacy integrations older than half my team, and the fact that no one wants to be the one who championed the shiny thing that didn't scale or broke compliance. I don't have the luxury of exploring. I have a backlog of urgent system dependencies, a security posture review next quarter, hiring freezes, and a revolving door of cold emails I'll never answer. Every Google search turns into gated ebooks, and every solution claims it's frictionless until you ask even one technical question. Half my job is filtering noise. I'm not looking for another platform. I'm looking for the lowest risk path to progress, and I don't have time to educate vendors on the reality of my world just to see if they're worth shortlisting.
She has given us a lot to unpack. And I think what Evelyn gave us was a sense of, why are the response rates so low on a specific campaign? Well, this is who we're trying to talk to. This is who we're trying to break through with. This is the world that she's describing. The market fatigue is real. What I want to let you know, and you may have guessed, that Evelyn is actually not real. Evelyn is created by AI. We created her on the Insights team here. We do a lot of this kind of work to start to leverage these tools and platforms in AI to help us not just understand the challenges, but then go ahead and understand how best to overcome them. Hearing like what are the struggles, the pressures, the pains that somebody in your prospect's position are dealing with every single day, to give us some clues about how we might start to infiltrate that, how we might start to speak more empathetically or productively with them as it makes sense. This is all based on data that exists online that they are actually talking about for real. So we're going to go through some of those data points, but I do want to just identify that we can start to learn from customers without actually having to bug them. There are many ways now with technology that we can start to unpack some of these truths. Let's get into it. Some of the assumptions we may have on our side as prospecting, that they are blocked by things like price, that they are blocked by things like timing or competing priorities. These are very difficult conversations, especially in the data cloud, the AI, the cybersecurity space. And the blockers are not things like pricing and competing priorities and timing so much as they are things like career risk or politics or fear of sticking your neck out for something nobody's really heard of before. The internal buy-in, the getting over those pressures, getting over those strains are much bigger barriers than your price point, are much bigger barriers than when you hit them or your timing. And so it's really understanding that the people are facing a lot of pressures, a lot of career risk pressures, real or perceived, but that's where they're coming at this from, that we need to start to empathize with and work with. We also assume when we're prospecting that they're comparing features. They're evaluating who's best. We're creating sell sheets. We're creating a lot of information to help them compare us to the other guys, when really they're choosing who feels safest, personally, politically, operationally. When we look at the data, we're seeing that trust is indeed the single most important factor when choosing a vendor in this space. It is not things around who has this feature or that feature. It is strictly who makes me feel like I'm going to succeed in my role if they're on my team. And this is another piece that is incumbent on us to try and nail down. Also, when we start to go through things that we may have an assumption that they are, and Evelyn talked about it, and even Laura talked about it, things like they're going through our websites, looking at ebooks, looking at our case studies. Those things are starting to fail for a lot of reasons and one of the reasons is that those aren't the main sources of information. The main sources of information are indeed peers, are their own back channels. We call it as well, you may have heard the term the dark funnel. So the things outside of the typical consideration and decision funnel that we start to see is that no, it's happening in other places. And how do we start to become present in other places? How do we, to Laura's point earlier, get people talking about us so when we're not there, we are still there. We're in the conversation. Peer recommendations, and you can see the data point, are huge in shortlisting vendors. And the last one I'll hit you with here on this particular conversation is this assumption that the funnel even exists in this space. And it doesn't really. I mean, certainly there are moments of awareness, consideration, and decision, but when and how they happen, the stop starts, the ups, downs, the nonlinear nature of it, the vast number of people that get pulled into these conversations from across multiple departments with sometimes competing priorities that aren't even quite aligned to what you wish they were, this starts to become the type of ecosystem that we are having to navigate. So the issues are many as we start to think about how to make Evelyn lean in and start to have a more productive sales conversation with us. What's happening out there? You know, you can look anywhere. We just did a quick scan on Reddit and LinkedIn and trying to figure out, how are people actually responding to the marketing, to the outreach that they're seeing today. And you get a lot of things that look like this. These are actual quotes. Things delete. They, or I can't stand it, or it clogs up my inbox. It's select all and get rid of it. How do you start to break through when this is actually the reality that we're dealing with? And the reason that people can start to scan and actually filter out so quickly is they're actually starting to see the same buzzwords. If you're talking to somebody like Evelyn, how many emails a day does she get with these words? Single source of truth, AI powered, frictionless, scalable, enterprise grade, all the same noise, all the same promises, all the same subject lines. It just is a clue for her to very quickly say, no, this is not what I need. I'm going to highlight all of these and get rid of them. So that's, this just becomes this sameness starts to hurt. And then we start to say, okay, well, what does that mean then in this particular space? Some of these things are true of B2B. When we start speaking of data cloud, we start speaking of AI, we start speaking of cybersecurity, there are a few things that are even harder that we're going to get into how to break through. The trust stakes, I talked about it earlier, but trust is number one, as we saw on a couple slides ago. But if that trust isn't there, everything else falls apart. There's nothing. So when we're talking about trust, it's the data integrity, it's the security posture you have, it's those reliability claims, it's all those pieces that stack up to say new and innovative are kind of scary words. Trust and risk-free are the happier words. How do we marry the two when we do want to break through with perhaps an innovation kind of conversation? The switching costs are enormous in this space. It's not just a quick add-on tool, you plunk it on and it didn't work. So maybe, a year or two later these are long-term, multi-year, heavy architecture types of projects. We're talking about replatforming. We're talking about major data migrations, huge deployments that consider a lot of people across multiple departments. And so the sales cycle gets very long. The decision tree gets very complex. And so we need to start to work through the fact that these switching costs are high. The burden of proof that comes with it is very high. We can't just say we're trustworthy. The amount of documentation, the amount of demonstration we need to have to say, no, this is what it looks like. Here's our reference materials. Here's our postures. Here's our governance models. Everything needs to line up. So, if anything is missing at any point, and we heard Evelyn mention it a couple of times, if you get any sort of gaps here, now all of a sudden it's basically game over. So that proof of burden is even higher. And then lastly, and this is probably the biggest one, just the overall risk tolerance is really low. Nobody wants to stick their neck out for something that feels at all risky. even if it's a better product, even if it's faster, even if it's cheaper, even if it's higher quality. If I haven't heard of you, the incumbent is the safest choice. Now, there are a lot of newcomers into this space. There should be. That's a good thing. That's a sign of a healthy market. But it does make breakthrough that much harder. How do we go about doing that are some of the things we're going to talk about today. What does it mean for you? And so, we get into this cycle. I think Laura had a better diagram with the spiral. I'm going to talk about it this way, is that we are in a space now where things are getting harder. Market fatigue is real. Response rates are getting lower. So when response rates get lower, and we know it takes a lot of touches to get in touch to have a real meaningful conversation with a prospect, we start to widen the net. We start to hit more people, and then it gets less relevant. And then the response rates get lower again. So we widen the net further and get more people, and the relevance goes down. And it gets worse and worse and worse to the point where I'm getting emails inviting me to hypersonic weapons summits. I don't know. I know none of you know me, but this is not my space. This is not my area of interest. I'm an insights guy. I'm not a weapons guy. But the net gets so wide as people get so eager to try and get anybody to click on anything that you end up hitting people like me with messages like this. So this is now the crux of the issue that we are facing. Happily, people don't change, but technology does. And the technology in this space is catching up, and it is going to take over much of what the rest we're going to talk about today will be. But we're starting to see technology and tools actually working harder to meet people where they are. Using the AI in a way, for example, that's more productive, going to offer higher relevance, going to offer better prioritization, not so committed to the consideration funnel that we know, but maybe thinking more about what the next best action truly is for a given person in a given role within a given organization. Start thinking more about the data quality, privacy, governance conversation early, how it integrates with across workflows and tech stacks. So we are excited about the fact that the tools are starting to catch up. It's not just about how many people you can hit, how easily. It's about hitting the right people with better messages. And so these tools start to become our absolute best friends in this increasingly difficult space. And the tools themselves you can't do anything without the tool. And you can't do anything if you don't have a basic understanding of how to use that tool. But if you want to buy that hammer, the tool in this case, and build that house, the outcome you're going for, having the experts that you need to actually take you to that place is the next step. The experts with that hammer are going to help you in two different ways. They're going to make it more efficient. And for this conversation, we're talking about efficiency, both in terms of speed, get you there faster, and scale, get you the size of wins that you need at a pace that the business requires. So efficiency, and then also precision. So we're talking here about relevance, and we're talking about quality. We're going to make sure that when we swing that hammer, it's going to be used to the best of its ability to get you what you need as quickly as possible with the highest relevance and highest quality. So this is where expertise, this is where when we start thinking about the tools and our friends on the HubSpot side, and then the expertise, as Laura was mentioning earlier, through the Titan side, I think we start to create a bit of an ecosystem in a world where we can start to break through this sea of sameness. We can start to kill that death spiral of bad messages and low relevance and low responses and start to improve where we go next. So that's what I wanted to say, give you that full customer perspective of the issue of the day. I will happily answer any questions you may have, or we can, before we flip ahead to Rachel.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. I think, this headline of meeting people where they are really is the crux of how we're bringing Titan insights and what we're able to learn about prospects and customers through the tools like HubSpot. That logo slide that I showed you earlier with some of the clients that we work for, the way that we're able to dig in and learn about clients in this really tangible new way really allows us to bring it to life. A lot of those clients are HubSpot-enabled, and it's incredible kind of what we've been able to achieve even in these early days. So questions for Nick. We do have two on the board. Please also feel free to submit on the chat. If we are unable to get it during the time today, we will be following up post-webinar with answers to the questions that we were not able to get to. So the first one for you, Nick, what AI tools do you use to get to these insights?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we think about the Evelyns and the things that flow out of that, and the some of the insights we get. We use the suite of tools that are out there. So we use the LLM tools, we use agentic tools, We use analytical tools, the specific mix and match of which we decide what fits the question of the day. If you'd like actually some more details on that, happy to have that conversation one-on-one afterwards. But it is making sure that we are able to leverage and understand what are people talking about, how can we best elevate that to best understand this market, this customer, this particular journey that we're on with them to help us surface the right messaging. So I hate to say all of them, but there's nothing that we're missing on that. And then how we bring them together is the secret sauce that makes this thing work.
Awesome. Thank you. And then a second question, to what extent are these issues with B2B sales more broadly, or are they specific to our industry or the
Yeah, yeah,
team?
no, that's a great question. I tried to cover that a little bit in the slides today. So if anybody has a specific question on that, we can. There are some of these things that are true. Just broad B2B prospecting is difficult. Emails might have worked well a few years ago and things are getting harder. Ebooks might have worked well and things are just getting harder. Where it gets more specific to this category are things like the trust burden, are things like the switching difficulty, the demonstration of all of the technical features, all the technical governance models that we need to start to talk about. And the risk aversion here is actually a little bit higher than what we see in other places. That risk of getting it wrong, literally from a career perspective, is so high for some of the people in these positions that is a unique thing in this this data, this cyber, this AI space. So uh, while the overarching umbrella is B2B prospecting is getting harder, the reality is that within this space specifically, there are some unique truths that are making it even more complex.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. We are going to move on just due to time, but again, we will have a little bit of time at the end for a more general Q&A if people have gathered any questions they might have over the course of the entire presentation, or we can take them back and distribute via email after this. So with that, I will hand it over to Rachel from Team HubSpot, who's going to take us through a little bit more around functionality, the ever-evolving abilities of HubSpot, and kind of how we're able to leverage HubSpot as this type of tool that Nick spoke about that can really take these consumer-driven insights and help us come to go to market in a really powerful way. Rachel?
Thanks for that intro, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Webb. I'm a senior product manager at HubSpot. And over the past year, my team has been working on a feature called Data Agent. So I'm going to push straight into the demo for this feature, but I want to start with the outcome first. So what you're looking at here is a live list of cybersecurity accounts filtered by smart properties powered by Data Agent. So these are not static fields, but rather AI enriched insights. These are all companies that are using a hybrid cloud model, 25 plus security tools deployed, and a low incident response confidence. So in other words, this is a list of companies that's high complexity, high risk, and perfect targets for consolidation and advisory conversations. And what's powerful about this is that all of this information was populated and cited automatically by Data Agent. So there's no spreadsheets, research tabs, or manual data entry involved. And so that's really the value that we're leading with here, instant segmentation and insight. So let's see how these insights were created. So I'm going to drill into a single company record, and I've organized my smart properties into 3 cards. These are powered by call transcripts, web research, and CRM data, and I've also organized them thematically around the type of intelligence that we're after. So looking across multiple records, for cloud and data infrastructure, these are properties that are pulling from web research. And what you can see is that Data Agent is scanning publicly available information, so the company's website, news, and case studies to answer questions like, what cloud platforms does this company mention using? What are their primary cloud deployment models? And then lastly, asking Data Agent to list any major cybersecurity vendors or tools that this company publicly references. Each of these insights is cited with not just a summary, but also the source websites where the agent is pulling information from. So this means that you have full visibility into where the data is coming from and transparency into how the agent is populating the property. So that's Data Agent doing external research for you, no manual enrichment required. Now let's move on to cybersecurity posture. So these are a set of properties that are pulled from conversation data. This is where Data Agent is analyzing what your teams are already hearing from customers. It pulls from hours of unstructured conversational data, cleans it and tags it, and then stores it right in the property for you. So here it's identified that this customer describes their cloud security approach as hybrid. It tagged the range of security tools that this company reports managing. It made an estimate of how confident this customer is in its incident response process. And then it tagged whether or not the customer has expressed interest or urgency in consolidating security tools. And again, all of this information is cited. This time, the sources link to the specific call or meeting transcript where that insight was pulled. So you can listen to it and get kind of insight into the context for that data straight from the transcript itself. And then lastly, the data infrastructure smart properties I created are pulling from CRM data. So I have a file property here where I've uploaded a bunch of PDFs that contain information about these companies' current data management platforms and integrations. These PDFs could be, 10 to hundreds of pages long and would typically take hours of manual work to extract data from. With Data Agent, I have a property that's looking at that file property, scraping and extracting insights to ask which data or warehouse data management or warehouse platform does this company use, and then it tells me the specific property that it's pulling from, which I conveniently have next to my Data Agent property. So the last thing I'll highlight is kind of a live demo of how to fill these properties. So this last smart property here, this is actually looking at call transcripts again, and it's asking what are the main pain points and challenges faced by this company. So currently it's blank, and when I click fill, it'll fill all of the empty values for companies which have call transcripts attached. So again, it will look through the hours of conversational data, clean and tag the insights, and then start populating the properties accordingly. I'll give it a minute. My internet may not be supporting Data Agent the way that it needs to, but we have some tags coming in here. So it's tagging issues like functionality, data integration issues, cost and organizational buy-in. And again, just as I showed earlier, giving me the specific call transcript where that was mentioned. So I wanted to demo filling it because I just showed 8 different properties that were populated with Data Agent, and it probably took me a little less than 30 minutes to set these up and fill these ahead of this demo. So just think about the time that's being saved that would typically be used to do manual research, scrape from external sources, look at call and meeting notes, and check out PDFs and files to make sure that those insights are being captured. So now circling back to the outcomes, I showed you that segment at the beginning of target accounts. Because those smart properties exist, I can also filter, report, and act on them. So here's a very simple dashboard with charts showing me the cloud security approach distribution of my target accounts, instantly telling me the breakdown of how many of my customers are, the breakdown of how my customers are approaching the security without any manual data entry required. I'm also breaking down my customers by consolidation priority, making a nice table of incident response confidence and cloud security approach. These are very simple examples, but you can imagine scaling to have an entire report that's powered purely on AI enrichment insights. I can also set up a notification based on one of my smart properties to let my reps or users know, hey, there's a lead that hasn't been engaged with in the past 30 days and their incident response confidence is low. This is someone who's worth re-engaging with. So just an example of how real actions can be linked to the insights from smart properties. And lastly, I'll highlight that because they're smart properties, they're not static. So they'll update automatically when new leads enter the system. In this case, I have a workflow action that every time a new record is created, I told Data Agent to go out and research the primary cloud model and fill that property. So that means that this data is always ready for me, always filled and available for my segmentation and reporting needs. And it means that my CRM data, my reports, my workflows, my lists are always in sync with my customer's real world context. So stepping back, the goal here is really that data agent is giving you insights and the ability to have a CRM that is self-generating and self-updating rather than requiring your team to update and generate insights for you. That's all I had for the demo. Happy to answer any questions now or questions that could come up later as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. We do have a couple of questions going into the chat. The first one, where do you see teams underusing enrichment data in HubSpot, and what built-in HubSpot tools could they be getting more out of?
That's a great question. I think um, I think there's two levels of this. I think I see data agent underutilized with existing property data. So oftentimes folks think that to use this AI enrichment feature, you have to create new types of data. But I would recommend looking at your existing data model and essentially swapping out data agent with the work that a BDR would do today. So that's one level of it. And then in terms of tools, I would say segments is the place where I think there's the biggest kind of underuse or biggest opportunity to build on AI insights, just because it's such a powerful tool for filtering. And a lot of this data that's now available with data agent could be really translated into action with these powerful filters and segmentation tools that can then feed into things like marketing, email, automations, things of that nature.
Great, thank you. Another one here. This also seems super valuable for marketing and sales teams to better personalize outreach and hone into ABM campaigns. That said, how can we start using AI in our GDM strategy without flooding our funnel with low quality leads?
This is a great question, I think, even more broadly than data agent. I think the key here is the ability to have a lot of granular information that maybe wasn't possible with manual data entry or manual filling. So in terms of like lead quality, you can now with data, I talked about like filling your existing properties. Like if you can also think of net new insights that would increase the quality of leads that can be pulled from the internet or from files or from CRM data. And I think that's where you start to see like exponentially increasing the quality of leads without increasing the amount of work required to get the information into the CRM.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we are going to move on again, but again, please feel free to keep your questions coming in the chat as they arise. So we will keep the incredible evolving capabilities of HubSpot going with some work from Nikhil. Apologies here. There we go. And really diving in a little further into some of these, incredible sort of options for you in terms of driving efficiency and effectiveness in HubSpot. So Nikhil has prepared a demo for us today around buyer intent and HubSpot's ability to really give you real-time visibility into purchase intent, even at those very early stages before form fills, before, deeper funnel pieces. So we will dive into this with Nikhil.
Hi there, my name is Nikhil Puri, and I'm a digital strategy manager at Titan One. Today, I want to give you a quick look at how HubSpot makes account-based marketing much more effective with its Breeze tools, and one particular tool, buyer intent. So buyer intent is a tool within HubSpot that gives marketing and sales teams a unified, easy-to-use system for identifying opportunities, targeting accounts, and ultimately increasing the velocity at which your sales and marketing teams identify and close deals. Now, we all know buyer journeys today are not straightforward. A huge part of that journey happens anonymously, long before anyone fills out a form or books a demo. Let's take a data or cybersecurity product, for example. Buyers would spend days or even weeks doing behind the scenes research, comparing vendors, reading reviews, and browsing through website pages. Without buyer intent data, we don't really know who's in the market unless they've reached out to us. But with buyer intent, you can engage earlier and be in front of potential customers before they've made direct contact. Now I'm going to use my demo account to show you how HubSpot brings this to life. So it does this through an integrated buyer intent engine, which is built right into your CRM. It combines 3 layers. First layer is called target markets. So this is where you tell the tool what your target market is. HubSpot lets you define the segments of companies that you want HubSpot to monitor for intent data and signals. Now, inside this configuration tab, you can build different markets using filters like industry, region, company size, or even tech stack. So once you set those filters, HubSpot continuously scans intent data for companies that match those profiles. It's just so that your teams are always focused on the markets that actually matter to your business. Now, second layer is the actual intent data. So HubSpot captures intent through 3 main components. There's visitor intent, research intent, and intent signals. First off, visitor intent. So this view shows which companies are actively engaging with your website or content. HubSpot automatically matches anonymous visits to known company domains. So even if no one's filled out a form yet, you can still see which businesses are showing interest. You can look at visitor intent across all companies visiting your site, or you can filter it to see only those in your target markets so you can stay laser focused on your own TAM. Second is research intent. This shows the specific topics or keywords that companies are actively searching for online. So you can think of it as a window into what problems these companies are trying to solve. For example, if you want to find companies exploring cloud migration or anything related to cloud strategy, cloud solutions, you can add those research topics here, and HubSpot will show you companies in your target markets that have demonstrated that research intent. Now, the third part is intent signals. Here, you can select companies to track and continuously enrich with real-time intent signals. Beyond just visitor and research data, HubSpot also tracks broader company-level signals like funding news, geographic expansion, layoffs, technology investments, and more. These signals give you real context about what's happening inside those companies and helps your sales team prioritize their outreach accordingly. Now, the last and most important layer to the buyer intent engine, which is account-level data enrichment. This is where all that intent data becomes actionable. HubSpot will surface companies showing intent, even if they don't exist in your CRM yet. And with just one click, you can add them to your CRM. You can also automate this process by enabling the auto add feature here at the top. So anytime there's a visitor intent signal from a new company, HubSpot will automatically add that account into your CRM. And the capabilities don't stop there. You can layer workflows on top of this to push intent data directly to your marketing and sales teams. Here's a couple of example workflows. Number 1, so this is a workflow where when a new company is added to the intent tool, you trigger a notification to your sales team. This allows them to start their outreach and run contact enrichment for these companies using tools like Clay, ZoomInfo, or Sales Navigator. There's more tools to that, and most of them integrate very well within HubSpot. Here's example number 2. So this on the marketing side. So what this does is when a new company is added to the intent tool, the workflow automatically adds it to your LinkedIn ads audience. Because HubSpot can build LinkedIn audiences directly within the platform, you can instantly sync those high intent companies to targeted campaigns that you may be running on LinkedIn. Now, these are just 2 quick examples. You can do a lot more with it. HubSpot's workflows capabilities are exceptionally strong. Now, quickly wrapping up with a recap. So HubSpot buyer intent lets you see who's in the market, pulls those companies into your CRM, and allows you to automatically use those signals to drive campaigns and outreach. And for industries like data, cloud, tech, AI, cybersecurity, where the buyer journey is already pretty complex, this becomes a powerful way to uncover that hidden demand and to add more qualified opportunities into your pipeline. And that's it on buyer intent. Hope you found it helpful.
All right. Thank you so much, Nikhil. So just to wrap up, and then we will open the floor to any further questions that anyone might have. So we know net that the challenges are very real, but so are the opportunities, especially when it comes to linking the opportunities for breakthrough through to the tools that can help you get there. But we think, this sort of lands in three kind of key areas. The first, the ability to just take a step back and be more strategic. What are the opportunities to be smarter, be more proactive, less reactive, try new things while still being incredibly efficient and incredibly effective. And how can you bring your brand to market in truly unexpected and different ways? But also making sure that we're grounded. We know that not everyone is willing to, nor should you, boil the ocean and throw the baby out with the bathwater in every possible instance. How can you be practical? How can you use the right data in the right sources to connect? How can you empower your team through CRM and clear reporting? We know everyone is up against limited resources. What are the smarter ways that you can start to empower your team, but do it in a really efficient and realistic manner? And lastly, embrace the loop. How can we take some of these ever-evolving capabilities of tools like HubSpot with AI enrichment to do, these incredible new things that not only save time, but deliver better experiences and really do increase chances of breakthrough in a meaningful way. So starting to have these conversations is really, what we like to do when we're starting out with many of our clients or looking at annual planning and kind of looking at it through a go-to-market readiness framework. Again, we're not expecting anyone to blow everything up and start over, but how can you start to identify, very real opportunities to do things a little bit differently to help aid in breaking through to the market by looking at 12-month ambitions? What is it you really want to achieve year over year? What are the barriers to success? Having those really honest conversations, but also acknowledging what are those quick win needs? What are those pieces we need to demonstrate in order to take things further? What can we do to enhance brand health? What do we need to know about our customers in an ever-evolving landscape in terms of how people are interacting, what they need, what they want? Looking at go-to-market activity status and MarTech infrastructure to identify gaps and opportunities, being realistic, as I mentioned before, about internal resources and what's possible. And lastly, of course, looking at the right partner mix, making sure it's not, too vast and unmanageable, but how can you make sure you're really honing in on the right partners who can take you to market in a more compelling, more efficient, more effective way? We really like to say that we help all of our clients outsmart versus outspend. So what are the ways in which you can bring partners of that nature to the table to really help you break through and make a difference for your organization? If there is interest before we open it up to sort of any broader or last questions, we are always happy to have a virtual coffee, have a chat, whether that's around brand and go-to-market launchpad planning, whether that's brand planning, go-to-market, strategic persona development. What Nick showed you with Evelyn today is really just one example of the types of personas that we're able to develop really specifically for all of our clients. Really digging in on the HubSpot side, whether that's, strategic planning, identifying opportunities for HubSpot, technical setup, onboarding support. Always happy to provide it all in partnership with our good friends at HubSpot. And again, we will be following up with any additional questions and content, but we'd love to hear from you one-on-one if you have any additional questions or if you're interested in connecting. So my information is there as well. So we will open it up finally to just a final Q&A, which can be for any of our panelists. I do believe we've already received a couple of questions for Nikhil, which I will throw over to you, Nikhil. From what you're seeing across data cloud, AI, cyber, what are the biggest blockers to healthy data hygiene?
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting question. And it does come up a lot because data hygiene has become one of the biggest bottlenecks across every vertical. So I think the main blockers would basically fall into these different buckets. There's fragmented systems as we've seen across a lot of our clients. There's still many companies that operate in silos. Marketing, sales, product, finance, they all maintain their separate data sets. with different structures, different taxonomies. So that really means there's no unified way of the customer or account. Then there's manual data entry and not consistent governance on all of these fragmented systems. Uh, Different reps, different teams use their own conventions. Properties or fields are not really standardized, and then duplicates start creeping up across different records. So over time, that just keeps eroding trust in your own data in the CRM or in your dashboards. Um, the third and final thing that we've seen is also lack of ownership. Because it's siloed, because there's fragmented systems, there's no single accountable team to ensure that there's data quality. It's everyone's problem, but then that also sometimes means that it's no one's priority because nobody looks at it. Everybody thinks it's somebody else's job to do it. So yeah, I mean, that's an issue that we've seen, but you know, to 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 fix these issues, you definitely have to fix those foundational layers that we just talked about. There needs to be a single source of truth, a well-structured CRM like HubSpot, where you have everything together under one roof and it's not fragmented, where account, contact, deal data, everything is under the same ecosystem. Then there should be strong data governance and automations. You define naming conventions. There should be validation rules. There should be deduplication workflows, and everything needs to be done when you're starting with a new database structuring. Then there should be consistent enrichment and tracking workflows that we just discussed about, which Rachel and I went into. So those kind of data hygiene tools definitely help keep that firmographic and intent data accurate. So yeah, I mean, once those fundamentals are in place, these new features, AI, advanced analytics, can do their job of layering more opportunities on top of everything that you have from the data perspective.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nikhil. And then we do have one final question, and then we will let everybody go. If we're already stretched thin, what's the first step we should take to make our go-to-market approach more relevant and differentiated? This is more of a general question. I think I will just take this quickly, and then if anyone on the panel has anything to add. I think crucial is just a laser focused understanding of your customer. We know that, everyone is stretched thin, both resources, financially. No one can, or not many can afford the giant research projects that help uncover, hundreds and hundreds of pages about your segments and personas. But finding partners who can help you very nimbly understand the opportunities, the barriers, the challenges, the moments that matter for your specific customers, the insights are truly invaluable. How you can use them to apply them to tools such as HubSpot, how you can use them into how your brand shows up every day in every way, is a critical first step. And it can be done, we speak from experience here on the Titan and Titan Insights side. It can be done very nimbly with a ton of value. So that would be, really my recommendation there. Okay, well, thank you so much again to all of you for joining us. Thank you to all of our panelists for your time. We hope this is incredibly helpful. Again, please do reach out if there's anything else we can answer for you. And thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful day.